Hello all. Our subject is CST 282 programming methodologies, and today we'll be discussing about, before going to the details of the subject, we'll be discussing about reasons for studying concepts of programming languages, and we will always think about the benefits from the study of these programming language concepts. Okay, so the following list is actually the potential benefits of studying concepts of programming languages, and the first point is that increased capacity to express ideas. So it is believed that the depth at which people can think is influenced by the expressive power of the language in which they communicate their thoughts. Okay. Those with only weak understanding of natural language are limited in the complexity of their thoughts, particularly in depth of abstraction. So it is difficult for people to conceptualize structures they cannot describe verbally or rightly. Okay. So that is the case with the natural languages. Programmers in the process of developing software are similarly constrained. Okay. So the language in which they develop software places limits on the kinds of control structures, data structures, and abstractions they can use. Okay. Thus, the forms of algorithms we construct are likewise limited. So, awareness of a wider variety of programming language features can reduce such limitations in software development. So, programmers can increase the range of their software development thought processes by learning new programming, new language constructs. Okay, that is, we can say it is increased capacity to express ideas if we study concepts of programming languages. And the learning capabilities or the capabilities of other languages does not help a programmer who is forced to use a language that lacks those capabilities. Okay. But this kind of statement is not true always, because language constructs can be simulated in other languages that do not support those constructs directly. Okay, that is the main idea. So, for example, a C programmer who has learned structure and uses of associative arrays in Perl might design structures that simulate associative arrays in that language. Okay. So, in other words, the study of programming language concepts builds an appreciation for valuable language features and constructs and encourages programmers to use them even when the language they are using does not directly support such features and constructs. Okay. And the second reason is that improved background for choosing appropriate languages. So many professional programmers have had little formal education in computer science. They have developed their programming skills independently or through in-house training programs. Okay. So such training programs often limit instruction to one or two languages that are widely or directly relevant to the current projects of the organization. You might be facing this kind of situations. Okay. Many other programmers received their formal training years ago, and the languages they learned then are no longer used, and many features now available in programming languages were not widely known at that time. Okay. So the result is that many programmers, when given a choice of languages for a new project, use the language with which they are most familiar, even if it is poorly suited for the project at hand. So if these programmers were familiar with a wider range of languages and language constructs, they could be better able to choose the language features that best address the problem. Okay, so some of the features of one language often can be simulated in another language. So it is preferable to use a feature whose design has been integrated into a language than to use a simulation of that feature. Okay, so which is often less elegant, more cumbersome, and less safe. Okay, that's what we said in the previous case also. And the third reason is increased ability to learn new languages. Okay, so computer programming is still a relatively young discipline, and design methodologies, software development tools, and programming languages are still in a state of continuous evolution. Okay, so this makes software development an exciting profession, but it also means that continuous learning is essential. So that is a problem here. So we need to have continuous learning, and the process of learning a new programming language can be lengthy and difficult. So the process of learning a new programming language can be lengthy and difficult, especially for someone who is comfortable with only one or two languages and has never examined programming language concepts in general. So once a thorough understanding of the fundamental concepts of languages is acquired, it becomes far easier to see how these concepts are incorporated into the design of the language being learned. For example, the programmers who understand the concepts of object-oriented programming will have a much easier time learning Java than those who have never used concepts. Okay, so there is a reason for studying these concepts that will enable us, or that will give us increased ability to learn new languages. So it is essential that practicing programmers know the vocabulary and fundamental concepts of programming languages, so they can read and understand programming language descriptions and evaluations, as well as promote literature for language and compilers. So these are the sources of information needed to choose and learn a language. Okay, so these literature for languages and compilers also play some role. Then the fourth reason is that better understanding of the significance of implementation. So in learning the concepts of programming languages, it is both interesting and necessary to touch on the implementation issues that affect those concepts. So in some cases, an understanding of implementation issues is to an understanding of why languages are designed the way they are. Okay. So in turn, this knowledge leads to the ability to use the language more intelligently as it was designed to be used. So we can become better programmers by understanding the choices among programming language constructs and the consequences of these choices. And certain kinds of program bugs, that is program errors, can be found and fixed only a programmer who knows some related implementation details. And another benefit of understanding implementation issues is that it allows us to visualize how a computer executes various language constructs. And in some cases, some knowledge of implementation issues provides hints about the relative efficiency of alternative constructs that may be chosen for a program. And the fifth one is that better use of languages that are already known. So many contemporary programming languages are large and complex. Accordingly, it is uncommon for a programmer to be familiar with and use all of the features of a language he or she uses. So by studying the concepts of programming languages, the programmers can learn about previously unknown and unused parts of the languages they already use, and need to use those features. And sixth point is that overall advancement of computing. So there is a global view of computing that can justify the study of programming language concepts. So it is usually possible to determine why a particular programming language became popular. Many believe, at least in retrospect, that the most popular languages are not always the best available. Okay. So this most popular may not be the best available. In some cases, it might be concluded that a language became widely used, at least in part, because those in positions to choose languages were not sufficiently familiar with programming language concepts. So these are the main reasons for studying this. If those who choose languages were well informed, perhaps better languages would eventually squeeze out poorer ones. Okay, so these are the 6 points or 6 reasons for studying concepts.